Hey, how are you, Analia?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
I can. Did you already do a workshop this week?
No, I was gonna do the one on Monday, but I got busy, but I did the one last Monday.
Okay, go. I would, you know what, I'm going to cover some of that today. I'll explain in a minute. I'm just going to wait for a few more people to see who shows up. And the
Okay.
guest speaker, he's East Coast, and when we're California.
Mhm.
So 5 o'clock doesn't mean the same thing to both of us.
Yeah.
That's an easy mistake. I've totally done that myself.
Yeah. So I have a question. So if I think I already asked you this, but what was I gonna say? Oh, do I have to actively be participating in the workshops like this to have it count?
Right. So when I say active participation, I'm asking you to be engaged in a workshop. So if all you do is watch a video and maybe take some notes, not
Mhm.
you know, I want you to have a conversation with somebody about it.
Okay.
Visually, like you watch it with somebody and you guys talk about it. If there's activities to do, and like yesterday, I had the students make a Voki.
Okay.
So you make the Voki. But then I also had them like go into a today's meet and chat and write learning objectives. Well, okay, you can't do that because the today's meet is, we're not doing that anymore. So what are you gonna do instead? Like you do your own. Like figure out a way that you're not doing busy work, but you're really engaging with the workshop so that you remember it and you get some things.
Yeah.
But when I talk about a workshop, I'm expecting you to make something, talk with people,
Yeah.
interact, ask a question. So do you see how like just watching the video doesn't?
Yeah.
What you do is up to you, but I want you to be able to say, I was engaged. Like,
Okay.
does that seem fair?
Yeah.
So, I mean, seriously, if you just say, like, who else didn't do this workshop? Let's watch it together, and you guys, like, watch it at your own houses at the same time, and
Mhm.
then, like, text messaging each other sassy comments. I'm
Yeah.
happy about that. I mean, seriously, because you are, thinking about, actively thinking instead of passively thinking. Like, taking notes is not, there's no critical thinking in taking notes.
Okay.
Does that help? I mean, I want you to put some highlights, but I don't want you to go crazy with notes in this class. I want things to be helpful and not busy work.
Yeah, that helps.
Okay, okay. Yeah, so if you could just stick always with the spirit instead of
Mhm.
the letter of the law, I'm almost always rolling with that. Like, I
Yeah.
didn't do this, I did this instead, but it's,
Yeah.
you thinking and doing something that gets you closer to being a teacher.
I think it's because we're also used to following like the code.
I'm so happy that you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Be that kind of teacher? Do you want kids to be compliant or do you want kids to be excited about their learning?
Well, excited.
That was a loaded question. But so like, yeah, for this class in particular, I am just like so not into forcing you guys to do things. And if you think about it, your students are legally mandated by law to be there. They didn't sign up for your class. They're forced
Mhm.
to be there. So, I mean, right there, who wants to be in that situation? And so now I'm in a place that I'm forced to be with somebody that I didn't pick, and now I have to do everything that they tell me to do. Like I'm at their mercy, and I don't get any decisions. I didn't get to make the rules. I don't get any choices in my assignments. For some students who sit in the back of the room and like, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Is it any surprise?
Mhm.
It's not like AP government. They didn't sign up to be there.
Mhm.
So how do you teach like they're not legally mandated to be there?
Not sure.
Right? So that's,
Yeah.
see, when I talk, like in your reflection this week, that might make a good thing to reflect on. Your
Mhm.
reflection can be anything. I just want you to think about teaching and to use critical thinking.
Yeah.
So anything like in the workshop that you might, like that one line might spark you to write 600 words just ranting. And you don't, you don't want to reflect on anything else, that's fine. I want you to plan out yourself being a teacher. So for this class, I trying to teach this class like you're not required. I mean, there's got to be a little bit of give and take in the sense that, you need to have credit, so you need to produce something in the light of the learning objectives that shows that you know the content, that I evaluate. But I openly encourage you to cuss me out, and I want you to tell me when things don't make sense or if you think it's dumb, because this class is about you. It's not about me.
Yeah.
And how you engage in it, I want you to do that because you are excited about learning and not because you're going to earn points or because you're going to somehow get things that are meaningful. And sometimes that means you define your own activities that are meaningful. Take responsibility for your own learning. Okay, so I'll stop ranting on that, but I hope that was helpful.
Yeah.
Hey guys, Ben, thanks for being here. Daisy, Glenn. So here's the thing: is Michael Fisher was going to do this workshop today, and unfortunately he's East Coast and I'm West Coast. So when we said 5 o'clock, we had a different thought about that. So he arranged for someone to watch his kids, and he was all ready to go at 2 o'clock our time, 5 o'clock his time. But now it's dinner time and bath and whatever, and so he's not able to do it, which personally, I've been there. I have gotten time zones mixed up, and whatever, we're empathetic to that. So I'm going to do the workshop. I hope that you'll forgive me that I have, zero preparation on this, because I just found out a little over an hour ago that he wasn't going to be able to do this. So let's do a few things first. I made a Google Slides. Nope, that's not it. Let me go get the Google Slides. I'll put it into the chat on the side. I made a Google Slides for us to kind of work through this. He sent me some resources that I've not had time to look at. So we're going to kind of look at them a little bit together and decide what we want to talk about. But I think this will still be good. I mean, Common Core and shifting and all those things are things that I teach about all the time. So I feel like we'll be able to do this all right. So anyway, so slide 1, let's first start with, can you insert a comment? Let me do a screen share on this. That one. Okay. So if you use the keyboard shortcut is Control-Alt-M, inserts a comment, and Control-Enter, saves the comment. So one of my goals for this class is to increase your digital literacy skills, but I also want you to increase your students' digital literacy skills. And so you'll notice that I'm always including some keyboard shortcut or how to use the computer trick no matter what I'm teaching, even if it's not technology. So if you would just say hi by inserting your comment onto the first slide. Thanks, Ben. So Daisy, are you able to get to the slides?
Yes.
Okay.
So we insert it where it says insert a comment.
Yep, there we go. Daisy's in there. I got her comment. Perfect. So you just, you can right-click and choose comment, but I really want you to learn keyboard shortcuts. That'll make you a ninja with using the computer. Right, thanks, Glenn. So the next thing is, if you click on the little drop-downy arrow next to the plus sign, you'll see there's a blue side that says Student Slide. oops, don't write name, write your name. Chose a really funny font just to be silly. And why don't you tell me what is scary about teaching Common Core? Tell me what is scary about teaching. While you're doing that, I'm going to go open this email that Michael sent me with some of his resources. Okay. Right. Sweet. So sorry. Thanks for being patient with me because I'm trying to do this. Oh, it's not going to work. No, that didn't work. I didn't think so. Okay, so we're going to download this. Come on. There we go. And then I'm going to drop. You can't see what I'm doing. I'm just talking out loud. Sorry. So he sent me like a draft copy of his new book. So I am uploading that to Google Drive so I can share it with you. I'm going to attach it because obviously he's going to publish it. But we're going to take a little peek, okay? All right, so let me look at what your responses were. What is scary about the Common Core? So Glenn says, you've not taught Common Core and never played it. Glenn, you are in a really good space. And you're in a good space because neither of any of the other teachers who have been teaching for 30 years. Right? Common Core is new for everybody. So unlike a teacher who's been teaching for 30 years, you get to start off doing this instead of trying to learn new tricks. So I think that's a bonus. And it also puts you a little bit more, it puts you on level footing more so with veteran teachers. Because, you know, I'll tell you, right, you're going to get a little bit of, you know, what do you know? You know, you just started teaching. I've been doing this for 30 years. That can be a huge advantage and somewhat a disadvantage because you get comfortable with this is how I do things. But the culture from 30 years ago and the kids you taught 30 years ago, that's not the culture of the kids sitting in front of you today. So what used to work and what you used to do, you got to learn all new tricks anyway. And that can be really hard when you're used to something. So I think you're an advantage, and then it's as you guys are like learning and working together, it's more at an equal level. So I think that's a win. You get to learn together. More collaboration is better. Okay, not having experience because it's new, Daisy, exactly. The scariest part to me about teaching Common Core is the fact that since I received a non-Common Core public education, it might be tough for me to adjust to teaching my students with a method that I have little prior experience with. Then that's like totally right. You know, how do you teach not like you were taught? Now, if you think about it, teaching is one of the few professions where you go into it with 16 years of experience. Like anything else, if you go to be a doctor, even though you've been to the doctor, you don't have that much experience that you really know what that field is like. Like, what other profession do you walk in where you've just been experiencing it for decades? And so then, it's, you know, yeah, exactly. Then how do you kind of untrain that? You've got these ideas in your mind. Now you got to do something different. Whereas if you go into a totally different profession, you don't really know what to expect anyway. So you're kind of up for anything. I hope that you maybe will adopt that kind of attitude that you're going into a new profession rather than thinking you're doing what you're comfortable with. Just a thought. Not knowing where to begin or how to do it. I think that's a really good point. So I'm going to put in here Common Core shifts how we teach. And so what we're shifting to is the 4 C's of a modern classroom. And those 4 C's are ideas clearly. Oops. Okay. I think critical thinking is like the biggie. You know, when you look at, you know, I have a math degree, and it was hard. I'm not gonna, I mean, it was hard. I took hard classes, and I had to study a lot. But here's what I remember: my first like real math class at Fresno. So I'm not talking about calculus and things that have numbers in them. Like, how would you want to do numbers? That's crazy, right? That's what you think you're getting into, but no. And I remember the teacher. He just like he wrote some Greek symbols on the board. He says, "This is for every. This is such that." Let's go. So, and then he just starts writing literally Greek letters on the board. I'm going to mute you, not because I want to discourage you from talking. I absolutely want you to interrupt. Just unmute yourself and jump in. Please interrupt me. But, you know, so what he wrote, this is the math proof, the title of the math proof, and then we were going to prove it, and it's just all Greek symbols. And I'm like furiously writing this down and and I wrote down all of these math proofs, and then I had to take a test on it. So I would write the title of the proof at the top of, I typed it onto paper, and I had a whole bunch of the math proofs, and the rest of the paper was blank, and then I would go and photocopy off 15 packets of it, and so I have this blank paper, and I would try and write down the math proof from memory as much as I could, and I'd fill in the parts I didn't know, and then I'd get a new packet, and I'd start over, and I would keep doing this process until I knew all of the math proofs. How much critical thinking is that? Put it in the chat, insert a slide, and just put the number on there. Insert a, you know, on the critical thinking slide, insert a comment. Insert a comment. How much, what DOK level, in other words, how much critical thinking was I doing by memorizing hard math proofs? So I'm on slide 10, and see most of you are there. One person's still on 9. And so slide 10, insert a comment or reply. If you're thinking, what is DOK levels? I went over that a little bit in Monday's workshop, but you may just want to listen to parts of it but not actively engage in it. DOK level is how much critical thinking the student is doing. DOK 1 is anything that's memorize, follow these steps, give me back an answer. DOK 2 is going to be there's an answer, but there's like some sort of a decision point that I have to kind of figure things out to get to the answer. And then DOK 3, that's where students really doing their own thinking. They have their own idea and they justify it. It's complex thinking. And DOK 4 is where you extend your learning, that you can apply what you've learned to a new situation. Annalie, I love your answer where it's 0. Note-taking is DOK 0. Right? If I'm just copying stuff down and the teacher's writing stuff on the board and I'm copying it down, I'm not doing any thinking at all. Now, I do have to do some level of thinking, memorizing, to be able to give the answer back. So since I'm giving the answer back, Ben, you're totally right. It's DOK 1. So I have this whole math degree where I didn't really engage in critical thinking a whole lot. Mostly, I just gave the teachers back what they asked for. And so if you look at, you know, you have a math book and I say, do section 4.3. Like, let's look at section 4.3, and then you do the problems for section 4.3. So I tell you how to do it, and then you do problems just like it. How much critical thinking is that? And so that's really a big shift is, when you look at a lot of the stuff that your textbook asked you to do, those DOK levels are relatively low. So we have to kick critical thinking up. How do you get your kids to be critical thinkers and problem solvers? When things go wrong, let me write that on another slide. Critical thinking. I'm on slide 11 now. When things go wrong, how do you figure out how to fix it? Make that a little bit bigger. So slide 11, when things go wrong, how many of your classes, of your assignments, had you analyze things that were wrong and figure out how to fix it? Insert comments, use the chat. Talk to me here. Or you can just turn on your mic. So Control-Alt-M inserts a comment. Control-Enter saves the comment. So think about when you're moving to Common Core and you're asking students to do critical thinking, if it's, here's the question, answer it, it might be a lower DOK. And so Ben says you have to figure out what the problem is in the first place and then think about a solution that will solve the problem. I love the way that you worded it. Figure out what the problem is. A lot of times we tell kids straight up what the problem is. I need to make a note to share Dan Meyer's ADE video. He has a great, it's 2 minutes, Apple Distinguished Educator application that says, we write these problems all wrong. He's a math teacher. We give them exactly the information they need, and then you really, who cares? It's a dumb word problem. And so as you're giving problems to students, try and figure out ways that they can be problem solvers, that they ask the questions. Right? Have students identify the questions they need to ask. Oops. Yeah, I was going to copy and paste this. Okay, so we clearly communicate ideas. We do critical thinking. Creativity. I'm on slide 12. I want my students to be creative, critical thinkers who can clearly communicate their ideas. Let me write that down. I want my students to be creative, critical thinkers who can clearly communicate their ideas. What does creativity mean? What does creativity look like in the classroom? Insert a comment. What does creativity look like in the classroom? I just like that name. Putting that in there for fun. I had a different picture I wanted to put in there. Okay. That was cool to clear that folder. Huh. I don't know where I put it. So, yeah, active participation and collaboration among students is creativity. Collaboration is not necessarily creative. If I tell you what to do and you do what I said, right? If I tell you what to do and your group does it, is that creativity? Is using glitter or construction paper or markers creativity? Ben says creativity is being innovative. Creativity looks like students having students present ideas that just aren't from the textbook or from my future class lectures, but from their own perspective, right? Then they own it. It's their ideas. It's their take on something, right? The idea is giving your own touch to the classroom rather than just using a textbook or going about the same routine. When we talk about students, creativity is not about doing an art project. You may do an art project that students are creative at, but might, you know, like how many times you go into an elementary classroom in particular and you see the same craft on the wall, right? So I'll go into my kids' class and there's a wall of penguins. Well, the teacher cut out all the penguin shapes and she laid them out for the kids, and then the students came over and glued them together. Where's the creativity in that? That's mostly an adult craft. The adult did most of the work, and you got 30 end products that are almost identical. That's not creativity. Creativity should allow for, when I assign something and students are being creative, the end products potentially look different. You get 30 different things back from the kids. They're doing their own take on it. They're deciding how to display, clearly communicate their ideas in their own creative way. All right. Seriously, you guys are making me talk to myself. These are good. And then the last one, communicate, creativity, critical thinking, and my favorite, and I think this is what I love about Google Docs, is it's about collaboration. Collaboration is not the same as cooperation. So, you ever watch 2-year-olds play? They're in the same space, but they're not playing together. So when you collaborate, you're not just working together. Like you do these 3 slides and I'll do these 3 slides. That's not collaborating, that's cooperating. Collaborating is you are doing things together. There's some amount of task switching, that you're communicating with each other, that there's some level of compromise of what one person wants the other, you know, that your brains together, and it's not you doing the same task. You might divide up the tasks and you're working towards a common goal together, some level of task switching. So when we talk about Common Core lessons, one of the things to do is to just, as you start, don't start with what chapter am I teaching. Start with, how are my students clearly communicating ideas? How are my students involved in critical thinking? How are my students engaging in creativity that I'm not giving them recipes? An easy way to do that is to give vague directions, and then they have to interpret how to accomplish the goal, which honestly isn't life a little bit more like that? I need to redesign my house. Okay, there's the goal. How do I do that? Well, I got to figure that out. I do a little research. And then collaboration, working together. I feel like changing the color on this one. Since I just said this. Research. Let's not pretend Google doesn't exist. As you're trying to do a Common Core lesson. If you give kids information, who's doing the thinking? Like I'm doing right now. This is bad modeling, Alice. So an easy way to switch is to ask kids to, I don't know where that came from. An easy way to switch to Common Core is asking kids good questions and letting them research, look it up, synthesize the information. Like they have to critically think and decide what information is good and how they're going to put that together. So ask questions instead of research. Give me a good reason why this should ever come out of my mouth. Let me do this one. Quadratic formula is, and I write it on the board. Let me get this for you. I'm going to go to Tools, Research. I'm going to type in quadratic formula. Notice I'm doing this right in my Google Doc. Doing my research right in the Google Doc. Quadratic formula. There it is. There's the whole proof. Should I spend class time telling my students the quadratic formula is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a? That's my question. Should I tell my students that? You guys are too quiet. You want to leave early. You got to like respond back to me so I keep moving. Well, this is where the chat is. I thought I heard a ding. Vague directions can be a bad thing. So Ben, there's this balance between, you think about video games, because I think school should be a little bit more like World of Warcraft. So you want to give your students a challenge that's just above their ability level, but within their reach. Now, at first, if you teach older students in particular, they are used to being told exactly what to do. So when you're like, so make me something that shows you understand the conflicts of the Civil War. Some of them are just going to sit and stare at you like, I don't get it. And you're like, make me something that demonstrates that you understand the conflicts of the Civil War. And so you have to almost train students into a new mindset when they're used to being learned helplessness. They're used to somebody telling them exactly what to do. And I get that in this class a lot, you know, because you've probably noticed some of my directions are not super specific. And like yesterday, I told them, make me a vocab that says the learning objective. Is it particularly fun to watch me showing you what to click on? It's going to be too slow for some people and too fast for others. But also, I'm denying you the opportunity to critically think and figure it out, because the real skill is not being able to make a vocab. The real skill is knowing how to adapt to a new tool, because when you get out of college and kids get out of high school, there'll be all new tools for them to use, right? So can I give bad directions? Can I plan poorly? Of course. Now, just because the kids don't respond to it right away, I've got a great research article that I want to share to you, is that when you switch to a student-centered model where kids are doing the work and kids are doing the thinking, instead of you thinking for them, you ask the kids to do the thinking. They ask you a question, you answer back with a question. Well, what do you think? What would you do? Where could I find that information? Like, that's how you respond to kids. You don't give them the answer. Don't think for them. It's going to take a little bit of time. They get used to it. At first, they're mad. They're like, just tell me what to do. Can I just have a worksheet? Like, you'll hear that. You're like, no. You need to think for yourself. Eventually, they get the hang of it. When you solve a puzzle and it's your own intelligence, it's so satisfying. It's so satisfying. And so once students kind of get like I'm smart and I'm able to figure this out, then they really they like it. You have to help them realize they like it. They absolutely will bend. They'll get frustrated with vagueness, and I just get really good at staring at them. Yep. What are you gonna do? You know, and I refuse to think for them. I also post all my directions on my website because that's not a good use of my teacher time. Saying stuff repeatedly on how to do things, I should use my words to help build students' critical thinking. I should use my words to encourage students. I should use my words to build relationships and get to know my kids. The quadratic formula is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. There's a million YouTube videos that already say that. And did you see how I was able to just search it right in the sidebar of my Google Doc? Just ask them. They can find it. They can find it. So switch to making them do the work. Don't look everything up. Don't make a template for them all the time. The person doing the work, the person doing the learning. I'm putting them writing that one down too. I love that. That's one of my key phrases.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, thanks for interrupting me. I appreciate it. So,
did you see that comment I put? The give a man a fish, you feed him.
Exactly.
Teach him. That's exactly like what you're talking about right now. That's exactly what it reminds me of. So that's why I made that comment.
Yeah, like we want, like we're teachers. We want to give them things, but then what happens when they're outside of your door? Now they know how to find information.
Yeah, you need to teach them how to fish, so they teach them how to do stuff on their own, how to research.
Ding! I'm writing that slide down, and I want you to write your name in it for credit. Teach students how to research. Telling them to Google it is not acceptable. Okay, finish. I got an A there for you. I don't want to spell it wrong. So
okay.
On slide 16, put your name there. That's exactly it. This is our shift. We shift to teaching kids how to research. We ask questions, and we teach kids how to research. I said something before that I want to put into some bullets. Or this one, actually. Oops. When you're talking, your words are used to build DOK3 and DOK4. You went to college. You are smart and talented. Your value is in helping kids to be critical thinkers and to be creative and to encourage them. Right? Your value is not in things that can be easily found on the internet. If you are just telling kids what the quadratic formula is, how easy is it for them to just say, you know what, you're really expensive. We don't need you. We're just going to put them on Khan Academy and let them learn for themselves. So Ben put in a comment here that his research skills were weak when he came to college. If there was an emphasis on that in high school, you would have been more prepared for college, right? This is an argument that I always like to make too. You teach kids to be critical thinkers, they're much more likely to be successful in college. I know the answer to this, and I don't know that I'm allowed to say it because it was told to me by a higher up person at Fresno State. but do you know what percentage of students that enroll at Fresno State finish in 4 years?
It's not that high.
It's not that high. Um,
Because like I know even at community college level, a lot of the students who enter they take a long time there because they start off at the remedial English and math courses.
And that's the same at Fresno State. We have tons of students coming from high schools, and they are having to do remedial courses.
Yeah.
And so it's just impossible to finish in 4 years when you're doing remedial courses. And then just the graduation rate in general, just like where kids drop out. Now, kids who come from community college, they're much more likely to finish quickly and to finish strong. But that makes sense, right? They've already been successful. They have a 2-year degree. They're coming in to Fresno State with some experience. So when someone's coming just straight into Fresno State, they struggle.
But then again, too, if those students would have gotten, instead of like me, like if I would have gone straight to Fresno State, I would have had to take a remedial course, but I did it at my community college. So.
Right.
Yeah.
But what can we do at high school so that students aren't having to take remedial courses? Let's be honest, what we're doing is not working. Most students have to take remedial math, and a lot of them have to take remedial English. So what we're doing is not working. Hence why we're doing the Common Core, right? So if we ask students to be creative, critical thinkers who know how to collaborate, do you think they'll be more ready for college? If we teach them to research.
Yeah, for sure.
Then doesn't that feel like a worthy thing to spend time to get, providing for our students? So
yeah.
Alice's highly biased comments, and you're welcome to call BS. What is my personal opinion on remedial courses? Should they be allowed at the university level? Oh, what a good question. What do you guys think?
I would say no, but then a lot of students wouldn't be able to enter like a. Well, are you talking? Did you say into a 4-year or community?
University. So let's assume 4-year and not community college.
Okay, then probably not. I would say make them go to community college first.
Okay, and honestly, they're more likely to be successful at university if we ask them to do that.
Yeah.
When I was a math major, it was really hard to graduate on time because all the math teachers were teaching remedial math classes, and there just wasn't, we weren't able to offer the upper division math classes that we needed. Now, I could just rant all day about how higher ed needs to adjust for the modern culture, because back in the day, how did you learn information? You really needed a professor to tell you that. But now, information is free and easy to get on the internet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are you able to get a high-paying job without a college degree?
Mm-mm. Yeah.
You can.
Well, yeah.
Google in particular is making an effort to hire something, and don't quote me on this, 15% of their teams to be non-college graduates.
Yeah. Well, yeah, if you go into like corrections.
Right? I'm not going to go be a medical doctor, and there's certain fields that I have to have my certain qualifications to get into. No doubt. But more and more, will companies hire somebody who doesn't have an MBA, but they have a great track record of running their own business? Or they have a super portfolio, they have a good presence on YouTube and social media, and they show you that they know their stuff.
Yeah, because sometimes isn't experience the equivalent of having a degree at some jobs?
Sometimes it's more, because when you go through 16 years of school where you've done exactly what someone has told you to do, then when you're in a job that requires that you're quick on your feet and you can problem solve, who taught you to do that? So sometimes having a degree can be at a disadvantage. I definitely know some employers who would prefer non-college grads. And I'm not suggesting don't go to college. I'm suggesting that, there's some private universities that are really jumping on the ball with this in recognizing more modern skills, and that there are multiple ways to demonstrate that you know something. Alternative credentials is like a hot topic right now.
Yeah, because I would say that that's part of Common Core too. It's not necessarily preparing them for college, but for like life. Like
Yeah,
even
totally.
if they don't, yeah, if they don't want to go to college, if they just like
You
want
know
to get
what's a valuable skill? JavaScript. How to code the internet.
hmm
I know this much JavaScript. Went to codecademy.org. It's a website, and they have some tutorials on there, and I did them. And now I code Google App Scripts, so I make Google Apps dance for me. I have all these add-on things that I do, and I've been getting a lot of people nominating me for some high-level impressive things and wanting to work with me, offering me jobs just because I know a little bit of JavaScript. And so if you teach your kids JavaScript, they can get a programming job even though they don't have a college degree or any real certifications because they have they make projects and look what I coded. You're awesome. I want to hire you, right? And so it's possible. So like what kind of skills can you give your students that give them that advantage? And I'm not saying don't encourage. You should encourage them to go to college. Absolutely.
Yeah, because I've heard those stories of students who they're like they create. I don't know if it's true, but they create apps and then they get hired onto companies and their apps take off.
My friend, he knows a kid in his town who has a very popular YouTube channel. The kid's driving a Maserati. He's 20. He might be younger. Yeah. And it's not actually that crazy. You're able to, more and more often, no one expects to be working at the same company for 50 years and earning a gold watch. It's more performance based in that you are able to demonstrate that you know your stuff. And there's a lot of ways to show that you know your stuff, right? So anyway, that's a side rant. So teach your kids how to research, and teach them how to do some coding if possible, because that's, if they can make their own solutions, if they can code their own solutions, there's some. Not only is there good problem critical thinking skills in that, but that's a job skill. Like they can get hired at 15 if they were good at it. They can do work and get good money, so it's possible. So the question was, should we have remedial courses? I don't know. I don't think we should be shutting people out of universities. We want a value education, but I also want more emphasis on things that are not just do all these math problems, but rather how do you apply these and use them in the real world, which is what the Common Core asks you to do. Real world context. Why do I care about this? Anyone here particularly care about y equals 3x plus 7? I'm going to graph a whole bunch of them just like that. Okay, now I did it. Now what? There's so many actual really good applications of that. And so focusing on how you're going to use this and giving them some really good life skills. I don't know one job that doesn't require that you be a good collaborator and team member. They all do. There are definitely some isolated jobs where you work in isolation, but that's definitely the exception rather than the rule. So true, Ben. So true. I have so many things I could rant about this, but I'm going to not. So I'm going to pull up that Google Doc. What happened to it? Where did I save that? Recent. Okay, type PDF. Did I put it in this account? I hope. Nope. Okay. Let me get it in there. And then I'm going to new file upload from downloads. It was It's hacking Common Core. Oh, I did have it in there. Locate it. Yep, I did. All right, let's open this. So let's just look at what he's got. I'm going to scroll through this really quickly. And I really appreciate Michael Fisher sharing this with us. So it's hacking the Common Core. Is that page blank? Okay, yeah. So this is his book. So let's just read through the table of contents that he has. You know, why does the Common Core standards have to be hacked? I don't know. So hack 1, shift happens. So there's shifts that you have to do in your teaching. Hack number 2 with Common Core is you do what's called close reading. So we have kids read a text more than once and really get deep in that text and analyze what it's really saying. You don't just read it, you close read it. That's a huge thing with Common Core. I don't know what this means Friday every day. Formative assessment and brain-based strategies. Okay, right. Every day I'm assessing. Formative assessment is what you use to see if your students are getting it, but it forms what you do next. It's not a quiz to put in the grade book. It might be a quiz. It could be a lot of things, like are they getting it, and what do I need to do if they are or aren't? How you have kids acquire vocabulary. Okay, so let's just go down here to his hack 1. Actually, you know what? I want to finish reading that list. I saw some others on there that I liked. I embrace the novel. I don't know what that means. Prioritize. Okay, hack number 7. Vigor versus rigor. So this, let me put this on the slides. You can't see this, can you? Dang it. Fresno State. I think I added it to the wrong folder. Can you see this now? Okay, hold on. I'm going to find this. I apologize. I have too many accounts open.
On the Hangout, what I see is your drive, but
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Exactly. I'm looking in my
Okay.
Google Drive trying to find that document that I put into the wrong account twice. It's down here. Sorry. I'm going to try this again. I apologize. Doing these Hangouts is trickier than you think it is. Okay, can you see the book now? It says Hacking the Common Core?
Yes.
Yes, okay, so sorry about that. Okay, I'm going to go down to his table of contents and I'm going to read through them again, and I apologize. Hack number 1 for Hacking the Common Core by Michael Fisher. So this is from his book. I'm not going to distribute this to you because obviously he would like you to buy it. Is you have to shift your teaching. You shift away from presenting information to facilitating learning, right? You are engaging kids in questions, like all that stuff we already just got done talking about. You're teaching differently. The kid is doing the work. Hack number 2, close in on close reading. You read a text, you read it a second time, you read it a third time. You really dig into it and analyze it. Close reading is something that's very important for the Common Core. Hack 3, Friday, every day, formative assessment. You're constantly checking to see if kids are getting it and then doing something about it. You change your lessons on the fly. I'm going to come down to hack number 7, vigor versus rigor. Problems that are hard versus problems that are complex. So we're trying to raise the complexity of the task, raise the complexity of the question. So let me write that one down. We want to raise the complexity of the task, of the question. Hard versus complex. So Robert, I'm going to say his last name wrong, Zablinski, he had a great example, I thought, where he said, look, you've got 2 tasks that are hard. One is building a rocket to the moon, and the other is parenting. While they're both hard, building a rocket to the moon is not complex. There's a set of directions that if you follow these directions, you should be able to get that rocket to the moon. Agreed? If I give you a set of steps, step 1, step 2, step 3, will that work for parenting?
No.
No. I have 5 kids, so no. Probably not, Glenn says. I'm going to go with absolutely not. Yeah, I wish. I totally agree. Just trying to potty train my 5 kids. What worked with one, the other kid is just totally like, whatever, I don't care about that. And even with the same kid, what works this week doesn't work next week. And so think about if something is hard. So here's my math problem that I gave students. A train leaves the station at 2 o'clock driving 40 miles per hour. 3 hours later, a train leaves going 60 miles per hour. What time do the trains meet up? I will tell you that my algebra students struggle with that question. It is hard. What DOK level is that? What DOK level is that math problem? Okay, got a vote for a 2 and a vote for a 3. The answer is 1. DOK 1. Did I tell my students when you have a speed problem, here's the formula you use, and you put those speeds into this formula, and you solve the problem? Did I tell them step by step how to solve that? Is every student in the room able to do the same steps and come up with the same solution? It's DOK 1. They're following directions. It's an algorithm. It's not critical thinking. It's hard, but it's not critical thinking. And so we're trying to raise the complex. Yeah, it is tricky. It's super tricky. So one of my things that I just would, because we're almost out of time, that I really want to leave with you is, actually I'm going to lay out this one. Do not have ego about DOK and Common Core. If you are certain that something is a certain DOK level, be prepared to be shamed. It's hard, and you're going to have conversations around it. And so if you're like, this is DOK 3, and someone's like, it's only DOK 1, respond with, that's interesting, let's talk about it. Let me give you a little bit of advice that's along those same lines. Here's what I stopped doing. I stopped writing referrals to the office for dress code. Because how many times did the office send the kid back saying they are in dress code? I'm like, you're not in dress, but I look stupid, right? I said you're in dress code. Office, Miss Keela, the office says I'm not in dress code. Or that they are, that they're fine. I'm, Miss Keela, you're wrong. I'm like, ah. So I stopped doing that. If I need to send a kid to the office for dress code or whatever, can you check for dress code? I'm just sending you for a dress code check. I don't know. Maybe you are, maybe you're not. Just have somebody double check. Then they can't come up and Miss Keeler, right? These are not the conversations I want to have. And so it's, especially think about that as you're approaching Common Core and DOK, is to use verbiage like, it might be DOK 3, I think, because, and then allow someone to challenge that, and there can be a lot of debate, and you would be jaw to the floor, seriously, that's DOK 1? There's no way it's DOK 1. But you don't want to be in a situation where you've been so confident and then, looking egg on your face. It's so hard. It is so hard to do DOK. And there's no shame in being wrong. The shame is having the ego to not want to correct it. Right? So I'm going to switch back. We're going to look at that document real quick, and then actually we're going to be done. Where do I have that? Let's do it really quick. Where did it go? Oh, here it is. Involve parents. One size fits none. Give different opportunities and choice. You know, all students should not be doing the same thing. How can one thing be appropriate for every single kid in the class? Okay. So do you guys notice I'm trying really hard in this class to give you different choices?
Mm-hmm.
Pay attention to that. Do you like having the choices, or is...
It's not working.
Thanks, Brian. And sometimes, you know, at first it's like kids aren't used to be giving a choice, so it's a little, you know, disconcerting. But once you find, like, I get to have a say in what I do, how does that feel? You know, offer your kids choices. You know, even if it's do problems 1 through 10 or 11 through 20, at least it's a choice. But then when you consistently offer choices, you can offer choices that are different for different interest levels, but also just different ability levels. And then a kid, if I have a student who can't read at grade level, and I ask them to read a 9th grade level book, and they're not a 9th grade level reading, what is that kid gonna do? If I ask a kid to do the quadratic formula and they don't know how to multiply, what's that kid gonna do? Can I stand over to him like, do the problems, you're so lazy, you have to go to detention after school and do all those math problems? He doesn't know how to multiply. You can't read the book. What's the kid gonna do? He's gonna do nothing, right? And in kids with low self-efficacy, they don't feel like if they try they'll be successful. They would rather do, this is what research says, they would rather do nothing than to like I didn't try, that's why I got it wrong, rather than show that they're stupid, you know, or appear to be stupid. And so if you just give them some different choices of things that they can do to allow kids to be successful, that's a big deal. So, okay, so I went a minute over. I'm super sorry. I do try to be really respectful of your time. I hope this was helpful. If you'd like, you can add another slide and ask some questions, or put some questions in the chat, or just like talk to me and ask questions, or you can run away.
Why me? You're gonna get grandma all wet?
Thanks, Ben. I know in a minute you'll never get back.
Did you get it all wet? Oh, look, I'm helping him.
Great, have a good class. Thank you for joining in.
They did it.
Night, you guys. Okay, I'm going to turn off the broadcast.